My name's Eliane. I'm working on a new collection and
today we are trimming and adding a handle to the wine jug. That's part of my Four Seasons set. First things first, tea and music.
dancing always helps to get the new creative ideas flowing and just loosen up and have fun with it, because that's what we try to do, to make pieces that are fun and that inspire you to have fun in capitalism, which is no small feat. And talking about fun, check out my makeup. Getting back to serious business, this is the jug and some of the handle options. For it to be functional as a jug, I modified the top so that it would create a spout instead of pulling one. So this is where the liquid is going to fall out of.
It's dried enough, so let's pull a handle. The rings are coming off for this one. I thought it was stuck. It's all good. Naked hands, like fully, stop! I'm blushing.
Here, I'm just prepping some clay right out of the bag, and I'm gonna wedge it so that I can then pull it, which is a technique that you will see me do in a second. I like to wedge it into an already sort of pullable shape. I feel like it just makes it easier, this sort of cone. And then we pull, and it gives it this sort of very fluid hand motion, which I really like, especially because this is the handle which is going to be in your hand. So it makes sense for it to be hand pulled.
Oh my god, stop looking at me.
Once I'm happy with the width and the thickness of it, I just set it aside to dry. And now it's time to trim. Do you see how the top is a bit whiter than the bottom? That's because it's already a bit drier, of course, because it's thinner. And because I modified the shape, it's not level enough for me to be able to turn it around. So I could use a chuck, but I decided to leave it on the bat and trim it the right side up. But I had this in mind when I threw the piece. So the bottom is quite thin and doesn't need to have a foot trimmed into it. You gotta think ahead, you gotta be 2 steps ahead at all times, especially with clay. You can see that it's also quite wobbly, and that is in part because I modified the top shape, but also because when I threw it, I pulled the wall a bit too fast, and so there was kind of like a dent in it that I wasn't able to correct later. But that's what makes the charm of handmade items. When you see potters tap on their pieces like that, it's because it makes a different sound if the wall that you're tapping on is thick or if it's thin, and so you can hear how thick it is, and this helps to know how much you still need to trim or if you should leave it alone. And in this case, I could go a little bit more. And then I refine everything with a sponge, as this is all going to be covered by a layer of engobe and then carved into. So basically, the cleaner the surface, the better. Wiring off, always kind of scary, also difficult because this clay is already leather hard. But then once it's off we go to put a handle on it.
I think it's a bit too big. Let's cut it.
Now that the handle has had a bit of time to firm up, it's easier to pick up and shape.
Okay. So we can also cut this. Should come to the shoulder.
I always pull my handles longer than necessary, just in case, because you never know. It's always easier to take some away than to add some.
It's kind of nice. In any case, this has got to go, at least part of it.
See, earlier when I told you always gotta be 2 steps ahead, I guess that did not cross my mind in this situation because I didn't know what shape I wanted it to be.
I think higher actually makes it look taller. And put it down.
Seeing it in person is always so much easier than to try to imagine it or try to draw it. Get like a sort of gut feeling in the moment, Once I found the shape that I like, I try to put the handle down in that similar shape so that it can further dry up and firm up, especially in the curve, so that it's then easier to attach.
I'm gonna let the handle dry a bit more like that because it's still quite flexible, and I'm gonna go for lunch. So, see you in a bit.
I don't really know why, but I felt like taking you to lunch with me, so enjoy this breath of fresh air. And boom, just like that, we're back.
Oh my god, you waited for me. That's so nice while I was having lunch. Thanks. Okay, let's keep going.
See how the handle is holding its own shape? This is why we let it dry so much. And so now the challenge is to line it up fully without a laser. You know, we got a brain, we do it all with our own eyes. So I mark where the handle is gonna go, and then I score both the jug and the handle to add a bit of texture to help the clay molecules align and stick together. And then I use some slip, which is actually just my old throwing water, to attach it. And so this acts like glue. It's basically just wet clay. And then you have to press it in, like seriously press it in, especially because with hand pulled handles, the top is usually a bit thicker than the bottom. And so it's more prone to cracking as it dries at a slower rate than the rest of the handle, which is thinner. Basically, the thicker your clay, the more time it's gonna take to dry till all the way inside, which completely makes sense. And I feel like the way I'm explaining it to you is not making any sense, but that's fine. And then you gotta blend. You gotta blend. And honestly, I think I spend way too much time blending my pieces and making sure that it's all perfect. But I just want the best for my pieces and for whoever ends up with my pieces. And like I said, because I'm gonna add another layer of engobe on top, I really cannot have any sort of cracking because the crack will show through. But I really am very happy with the shape. I just literally cannot stop touching it and trying to make it perfect. I genuinely think I spent around 20 minutes doing this, if not even more. But you know, eventually your finger is the right dryness to just like smooth it out, because if it's too wet, then it leaves a mark. If it's too dry, it doesn't do anything. So you gotta really find the perfect moment to do all of this. And then, you know, once you're done with the hands, of course it's not enough. So you gotta take out the little brush. But in my way of seeing things, the more time you spend on a piece, the more you infuse it with love and all other good things. So I think that it is worth it, and it's fine. And eventually I am finally happy.
Since it's winter, it's already dark outside, but I just realized I matched this curtain perfectly. So thanks for watching. What better place to say this where I'm literally melting into the background. See you next time. Sweet dreams.